At 34, I'm Scarlett, and I thought I had built the perfect life. My $2 million home in Pasadena Hills was the result of 15 years of hard work in real estate. My 3 older brothers, David, Marcus, and Trevor, always seemed proud of my success, and my parents would brag about me to their friends. But sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones plotting your downfall. Everything changed after my knee replacement surgery following a cycling accident. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, you won't believe what my own family tried to do while I was lying helpless in that hospital bed. The American dream and its hidden price. Growing up in a working-class family in Toledo, Ohio, I was always the most ambitious one. My dad worked as a mechanic, and my mom was a third-grade teacher. My 3 brothers were much older than me, so I often felt like I had 4 parents instead of 2. David, now 42, was struggling after his construction company went bankrupt. Marcus, 38, was buried in debt from a messy divorce. Trevor, the youngest brother at 36, barely made enough at a warehouse to cover his rent. At 19, I moved to California with $800 and a dream, starting as a real estate receptionist. I watched, listened, and learned, quickly getting my license and becoming a top agent. By 30, I bought my dream house, a 4,200 square feet Mediterranean-style home in Pasadena Hills with a view of the mountains. The mortgage was steep, but I was living the American dream my parents had worked so hard to give us a shot at. Despite my success, family always came first. I sent my parents money every month and helped my brothers with their debts, mortgages, and even a car. I never thought twice about it. Family takes care of family, right? That all changed one Sunday morning in Griffith Park. I swerved to avoid a jogger on my usual cycling route, lost control, and went down hard on a rock. The pain in my knee was unlike anything I had ever felt. The paramedic said I was lucky it wasn't my head. At Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Rodriguez told me my kneecap was completely shattered and a total knee replacement was my only option. I would need help with everything for the next 6 to 8 weeks, a terrifying prospect for someone as independent as I was. A shocking discovery. The morning of my surgery, my entire family flew in from Ohio. They seemed attentive and caring, but something felt off. During my brief periods of wakefulness, I noticed their conversations would shift when they thought I was asleep. David asked about my finances and whether I had a will. Marcus was particularly interested in where I kept my important papers. Trevor kept bringing up long-term care options. My pain medication was being adjusted, and with more clarity came a growing sense of unease. Dr. Rodriguez delivered news that made my stomach sink. My recovery was slower than hoped, and I was looking at 3 to 4 months before I could walk normally. I caught a look of relief on my family's faces. That night, I overheard my mother whispering to my father about difficult decisions and what was best for everyone involved. I knew I hadn't been dreaming. My own family was plotting something while I lay helpless. On my 12th night in the hospital, chronic pain jolted me awake. I heard my family in the lounge down the hall and, instead of calling for a nurse, I wheeled myself to the doorway to listen. What I heard next destroyed everything I thought I knew. David was explaining that I wouldn't be the same after this and might have a permanent disability. He argued that it was irresponsible for me to manage a house that size. Marcus added that the maintenance and taxes were enormous. Trevor said I'd be much happier in a professional care facility. My mother hesitated, but it's her house. My father dismissed her, saying, "Scarlett isn't thinking clearly right now. We can see what she needs better than she can." David took control again, revealing he had already spoken to a lawyer about getting guardianship and power of attorney. Once they had legal control, they could sell the house and make sure the money is used for her care. Marcus had already talked to a real estate agent and Trevor had researched long-term care facilities. My father started talking numbers. If we sell for $2.2 million, we can divide the rest among the 4 of us kids and me and your mother. That's about $300,000 each. The greed in his voice was unmistakable. David sealed their plan with the chilling statement, "She always said, family comes first." Well, now family is taking care of business. The plan for revenge. I sat in that wheelchair in the darkness, listening to my entire family plot to steal my life. The physical pain was nothing compared to the agony of realizing they saw me as nothing more than a source of money to be exploited. I went back to my room and made two decisions. First, I would pretend to be the helpless victim they believed me to be. Second, I would gather evidence and make them pay for every single word. The next morning, I began the most difficult performance of my life. I acted grateful and helpless, while secretly gathering intelligence. I made mental notes of their conversations. I caught Marcus photographing documents from my purse. Trevor had somehow obtained copies of my medical records. My parents were handling the logistics of liquidating my life. They had made one crucial mistake: they underestimated me. I managed to get a message to my personal attorney, Patricia Williams, through a trusted nurse. Posing as a friend, Patricia visited and I explained the entire situation. She immediately began working on my behalf, discovering that their lawyer had been disciplined for ethical violations and that my brothers had already opened a joint bank account for my care. Meanwhile, I started secretly recording their conversations with my smartphone. They were so confident in their plan that they openly discussed the details, assuming I was too medicated to understand. I learned the dark truth behind their greed. Trevor had $85,000 in gambling debts. Marcus was facing possible jail time for unpaid child support. David was personally liable for over $200,000 in debt from his failed business. My house was their get-out-of-jail-free card. I also learned that they didn't just want my money, they resented my success. This wasn't about providing for my care, it was about bringing me down to their level. The confrontation and aftermath. In the fourth week of my hospital stay, David arrived with a briefcase full of legal documents, power of attorney forms, asset transfer agreements, and guardianship petitions. He used his most caring brotherly voice, but I knew the truth. I signed each document with a shaking hand, but what he didn't know was that Patricia had provided me with substitute signature pages, making the documents legally worthless. Marcus brought a preliminary listing agreement for my house, and Trevor brought admission paperwork for a nursing home. My parents seemed uncomfortable but went along with it. My brothers even held a celebration in my room with champagne, toasting to their new beginnings. The next morning, I began the end of their criminal conspiracy. At 9 a.m., I shocked everyone by standing up on my own, using a single crutch. I had been secretly doing physical therapy exercises, fueled by my rage. The look of terror on their faces was priceless. I dropped the first bomb. I know about all the arrangements you've made, Marcus, the fake guardianship papers, the real estate agent, the nursing home deposit, and the bank account you opened to steal my money. When they denied it, I pulled out my phone and played the recording of their conversation. The sound of their own voices plotting my destruction hit them like physical blows. David went pale, Marcus stammered excuses, and Trevor just stared at the floor. I told them I knew about their debts and that I had hours of audio evidence, all of which was already in the hands of my attorney and the district attorney's office. Just then, Patricia Williams walked in with two detectives from the Lapped Financial Crimes Unit. David and Marcus were arrested, and Trevor didn't resist. I looked at my parents, who begged me not to press charges, and told them, "You are not welcome in my house anymore. You are not welcome in my life. You chose money over your daughter, and now you can live with that choice." The family that had raised me was gone, destroyed by their own greed and betrayal. In the following weeks, my brothers faced serious consequences, including prison time and restitution. The civil lawsuits resulted in additional financial penalties. My parents were not criminally charged, but I obtained restraining orders, and they flew back to Ohio, their relationship with me destroyed forever.